How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking custom figures. So today we're going to be talking about one custom figure which I've made, I've teased, and now it's time to talk about it. And this figure is my Brian the Ood custom figure. Now, this figure didn't take me too long to make, sourcing the parts was okay. I'm going to talk to you about why I've chosen, what parts I did, ideally what parts I would have used, and how I made it, and then a quick overview of if it's acceptable and if everyone's happy with it by being me, and if I'm happy with it. So first of all, the parts I used, I would ideally use a different set of parts. So I used a Ood figure, which was an Ood with red eyes, as you can see here. And I have also used a master figure, hence why he's got the tie instead of the bow ties here. So why have I done that? Well, let's talk about that. So if I just load up eBay on my phone, I can clearly show you why I chose what I did. So here I wanted ideally the 10th Doctor in Tuxedo, so searching for the 10th Doctor in Tuxedo, which I remember picking up quite cheap as a kid. And apart from the $7.99 one, which is way too shiny on a custom itself, you're talking between £20 and 25 there, 26 will be 20 postage, £30. So it's a very hard figure to actually get hold of for cheap, especially for using it as parts. So I decided the next figure I should use was the Master figure from Series 3. So I searched for Doctor Who Master, and that's just because he has the extra joint on the arms where he can tuck his arm behind his back like Brian the Ood. Right away, we've got one here for £1.99 and £3.20 postage. So that looks okay. We've also got a few more down here, I believe. Like £6.99, we've got one here. That's actually how much I paid for mine, and it was from the same seller. We've got another one here for £2.99. So it's easy to get a master figure to do it. We also would need an Ood figure for the head sculpt and the hands. So if we search for an Ood from Doctor Who, right away, Ood Sigma at the top for £5. You've got Oods for £3. Ideally, you'd have the ball orb, so the Ood Sigma at the top here is probably the best off of £5 and £3.20 postage. You can also buy this one for £6.99, £3.20 postage. The parts are relatively cheap and easy to get compared to ones I've seen on eBay, which are exceptionally more expensive. So what did I do? First of all, I used the boil and pop method. So put both figures in some boiling water like this, drop them into about here, and basically waited for them to heat up. When I got them out, dried them off a little bit with a towel, popped off the hands right away, and the head sculpts. Now the head sculpts were a T-style shape. Now for some reason I expected them to be a ball, but I have also made customs in the past where I've made my custom Madame Vastra and the head sculpt from Series 5 and the Missy figure, which was like released in the B&M wave. They had a bobble under here, and then the head just went straight on top. So I personally thought, wow, that's what it's going to be. But it wasn't. It was like a tube with some like extra bit of plastic underneath, like a disc holding it in place. So first of all, I had to slice that off because there was no way of me getting the head sculpt back in to the head peg hole with that. So I sliced it down and put the Ood head on top. Now the Ood head was slightly too big, so I did have to slice some down, but you don't need to slice much. It's about maximum 1mm. So it was working and trying to fix it. Like as you can see on the back, there was a chunk of my Ood actually missing where I had to glue him back in. So that is how bad it is. It is a very delicate thing to do. Then what I did, I got some super glue and I glued the orb actually into the Ood so it wouldn't fall off. I didn't glue it onto the hand because I wanted the articulation on the hand and if I wanted to move it around. But yeah, and then I made a terrible mistake. I glued the head on, which was perfectly fine, so there was no articulation on the head. But then I also saw a few like gaps, and I went and used the glue to seal those gaps. which has left this white residue on the back where the glue has actually dried and left white all over it. So I wouldn't do that in the future. That is one problem which I have. But yeah, it's quite good. Like as I said, the reason I've used this figure is because it's got the articulation to swivel here, so you can like bend his arm back and put it into the classic Brian the Ood pose, which was on the Eagle Moss figures. But the toy, it does bug me because it isn't perfect, but it was a cost cutting method which I had. The red eyes, I don't believe, I'm just going to get my Tonal Victorious book out here. No, Brian the Ood on here doesn't have actually red eyes, but I believed him being an assassin, he would most likely have red eyes for some reason. Hence why I went for the red eyed Ood, as well as it being one of the cheapest that I could get my hands on. I am happy with this figure. It just sits on my display. Well, it sits on my desk really, next to my 3D Greens Tonal Victorious Starlick. So they sit next to each other basically, and there is nothing there in the way. And I'm actually happy with that Ood custom. It's my second custom I've ever made. Personally, I think it's the best one I've done. Obviously, I've made some rookie mistakes, but yeah, I'm happy with it. And if you feel like you want to make yourself a Brian the Ood, the cheapest way is with a master figure and a standard Ood figure, rather than going and getting a bow tie. Or you could use Milliput, but I'm not experienced in that, so I've decided to just do basic head swap and hand swap, and I'll be happy with that. That is it for this week's video. It is a very short video because there isn't much to talk about the figure really. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week for some more content.